Africa is not looking pretty in pink at the Wanderers. They've lost their second wicket. So currently the score is 18 for 2 in the fifth over. Du Plessis is now into bat, and we'll keep you up to date with the latest on the cricket. Okay, in international news, the Divided Security Council has met on the unfolding situation in Venezuela with calls from the United States for the international community to recognize the new democratic government led by the self-proclaimed President Juan Guaido. This as momentum grew for political dialogue in the country, with countries from the European Union declaring that they too would recognize the new president if incumbent President Nicolas Maduro did not call fresh elections within 8 days. South Africa also expressed concern at what it calls attempts to circumvent the country's constitutional legal mechanisms, while Russia accused the United States of attempting regime change.
Russia tried but failed to block the meeting going ahead despite support from South Africa and 2 other countries, but they were in the minority, with 9 countries, including the United States, agreeing that Venezuela be placed on the agenda.
The United States stands with the Venezuelan people. So far, many other nations have chosen to do the same, and they too have recognized the legitimate government of incumbent President Guaido. The United States stands proudly with you as we stand together in support of Venezuela. You knew the Venezuelan people did not have a moment to spare. And now it's time for every other nation to pick a side. No more delays, no more games. Either you stand with the forces of freedom, or you're in league with Maduro and his mayhem.
The United States had earlier tried to win support for a presidential statement that would have called for an immediate start to a political process in Venezuela, leading to free, fair and credible elections in the shortest possible time. Requiring the consensus of all council members for it to be adopted, the statement failed to be included in the official record.
Show unity.
South Africa expressed concern at what it called a clear attempt to circumvent the constitutional legal mechanisms in Venezuela.
I wish to stress that South Africa is firmly against any attempt of undue or unconstitutional change of government of Venezuela. The Security Council should never be an instrument that validates and unconstitutional changes of any government anywhere, anytime. Instead, the Council should promote avenues that create an environment for conclusive, inclusive dialogue, and that cooperation that will ease the challenges and hardships faced by Venezuelan people.
But European countries have coalesced around a position that if Maduro does not call new elections within 8 days, they too would recognize Guaido as interim president. China and Russia viewed this as interference in the affairs of a sovereign state.
We
have no doubt that today's meeting has been called by the American delegation with only one purpose: to continue destabilizing the situation in Venezuela by imposing on this country its own approaches and recipes to resolve the problems with which it has encountered recently. The meeting, which we are being forced to be present, is another element of the strategy of the United States to effect regime change in Venezuela.
Venezuela's foreign minister, who travelled to New York to participate in the meeting, accused Washington of sponsoring bloodshed in his country.
The United States is not behind the coup d'etat. It is in the vanguard of the coup d'etat. It is dictating the orders, not only to the Venezuelan opposition, but also to the satellite governments in the region, and it seems in Europe and the other parts of the world. As proof, we have tweets here from social media. We have appeals, calls to the security forces, to the Bolivarian National Army to take position against the legitimate authorities, against the constitutional government of President Maduro, by Secretary of State Pompeo and by Vice President Pence.
The Maduro government has lost the support of several neighboring states, including Brazil, Argentina, Colombia and others. Regionally, only Cuba and Bolivia still back Maduro, along with the country's military. Sherwin Bryceby's SABC News, New York.